So we're going to look at the big subject of retraining the core. Unfortunately, there are very big misunderstandings and many myths around the core. To start with, what it isn't is pulling in, sucking in your stomach, doing crunches, curls, planks, etc. The role of the core there are many roles that the core coordinates, but for our purposes we're interested in how it coordinates the dual roles of postural support with breathing. And I'm particularly grateful for the work of Paul Hodges and his group and Pavel Kolar for the fine research that they've done to help really make this clear. So to start with, to get good core function, we need to have established a very healthy diaphragmatic breathing pattern. So a diaphragmatic breathing pattern can be discerned by looking at someone's antero body and just gently placing one hand over the lower belly, one under the top chest. At rest, there's no need for postural control. The body is completely supported, all muscles should be relaxed, but the diaphragm keeps gently coming and going to breathe this, and you'll see a rising and falling of the abdominal wall. Not all people can do this, so the first thing is that we have to make sure that there is not an upper chest breathing pattern where the top chest lifts and comes forward, but the breathing is low and slow. The second thing that we need to be able to establish in retraining the core is the ability to generate intra-abdominal pressure. Now, the role of intra-abdominal pressure in postural control for normal everyday activities is only about 10 to 15% of maximum voluntary contraction. It's not a real hard firming. The subject is thinking about gently engaging the muscles here under the fingers, and when she does so, you should see that the umbilicus moves south, and she's able to do this, and at the same stage, she is continuing with a regular, low, slow, diaphragmatic breathing pattern. So the first stage is a healthy diaphragmatic breathing pattern. The second is the ability to generate intra-abdominal pressure, and we monitor it here in the iliac fossa. The third is, can this be sustained while the person keeps breathing? Then we need to note here how the umbilicus nicely firmed, and we're looking for this firming in the lower abdominal wall, not the upper. The next thing we want to determine is the subject able to what I call open the centre, to open the centre body, to laterally expand, and this action is actually only achieved by developing further intra-abdominal pressure, where the subject can feel even further firming. So the centre body is what I call held open. This helps to align actually the thorax with the pelvis. And when we've got this pattern established, making sure that there's no excess muscle tension in the top body, that the breathing pattern continues to be low and slow, that the sustained intra-abdominal pressure can be sustained, and then we might look to limb load challenge, where the person has to be able to stabilise the pelvis and the spine in this position while they, for instance, raise a leg. So we're looking for the pelvis not to tip. We are sustaining this so that, in other words, the ability for the deep system to sustain, now we've added in another variable, the ability for the pelvis to be stabilised while intra-abdominal pressure is being generated and the breathing. And once the patient has this, then we can think about all sorts of different challenges. The mistakes that normally happen with core retraining is to set the bar way too high before the person has established this very important basic pattern of being able to bring the pelvis and the spine into a more neutral position, to be able to engage this inner support and control mechanism while they're breathing. This is fundamental to being able to align your spine up against gravity, breathe and move. So we start to retrain it with gravity eliminated, where the brain is getting a chance to repattern itself, because normally our clients have learnt some very bad habits because of inadequate core control.